Thanks for staying here on JoyNews. The state of promises. That's how the minority describes President Akufo-Addo's State of the Nation address delivered to Parliament on Thursday. In it, the president highlighted some key achievements within his 1 year and what he hopes to achieve by the end of 2018. He indicated government has saved some 800 million cedis in procurement, and some 3,000 unemployed youth are receiving an all-expense-paid training, after which they'll be employed by EcoBank. And there have been a lot of reactions to that address, but there are some more questions that we'll get some answers to this morning. I've got Michael Bwedi. He's Corporate Affairs Manager with the Ghana Integrity Initiative. Thanks for joining us here, sir. Good morning to you. Good morning. First off, did you listen to the State of the Nation? What were your impressions?
Well, I think I listened to bits and pieces of it, particularly the part that concerns me the most, corruption. And I think that, well, all in all, that's the president did well. There were more expectations, but what I'm sure he spoke about what he had done, and I believe that, you know, we will continue to engage him, and the more we continue to engage him, the more we will be able to also highlight those areas we believe were important but he left out. But all in all, I think.
So what are those important things you thought he left out?
Well, I keep saying that the president had fought for civil liberties, had fought for civil rights in this country for a good part of his adult life. And so one will expect that once the president is elected and he wields power, one of the things that the president would want to do is to empower citizens to be able to express themselves. The president led the repeal of the criminal libel law. So that is criminalizing and then also enhanced free speech. But then how do you enhance free speech if you don't have access to information? So you would expect that once the president came to power, one of the first things he would be doing quickly was to get the Freedom of Information Bill passed. That hasn't happened. And sadly, it didn't feature in his State of the Nation address. That was not too comforting. So, and then that, apart from that, last year, if my memory serves me right, this first State of the Nation address, he talked about ensuring that, you know, the access declaration law is reviewed or amended to make people verify for the assets that people declare. You would wish that, one, the president would have taken the lead to show by example by actually publishing his asset, but he didn't do that. We were expecting him to update the nation as to what is being done about it if the government is still, you know, resolute in the fight against corruption and his desire to see corruption controlled in this country. But we didn't see that, and that was also very, very hurting. That, you know, now we also know that Ghana made some commitments at the London or the UK Anti-Corruption Summit. It doesn't matter if it's not the current government who made the commitment. It's the government of Ghana. And so for the international community, they would be interested to seeing the president follow through the commitments they've made. So when I heard the president talk about procurement and the fact that some $800 million or cedis had been saved, I said that then we could have saved more if we had heightened transparency in procurement. One of the promises was to have an e-procurement. I didn't think that it would cost the country so much to have a page that publishes all the procurement that is done in this country. So and these things, the Ghanaians have the right to know. Today we talk about Auditor General's report, and we talk about how contracts are being inflated and contracts are not being executed, contracts are being double paid. What will it take to enhance the transparency of contracts awarded and procurement in this country? It will only take having a page on the public procurement website and then publishing contracts. Which contracts are being awarded? When was it tendered? Who was awarded the contract, and by how much? And when is he supposed to deliver? So Ghanaians can monitor. And I don't think that it would take too much. And the international communities are expecting us to do.
Well noted, Mr. Budi. So for the minority, this was a state of promises, not a state of the nation. For many, they were hoping the president would probably take a sector, for example, and say, this is where we are, and this is where we hope to be. But for many people, it was more of a hopeful state of the nation, where we hope to be, not a reflection of where we are now. Do you agree with that assertion?
Can you imagine what would have happened to Ghanaians, especially our teeming youth, if the president doesn't sound hopeful and inspiring? And then the next day you have the death of a very young woman. The whole country would have really wept. So I believe that, you see, that one of the responsibility of a leader is to inspire hope. And therefore, if a president's State of the Nation address provides or inspires hope, for me it's a good thing. But the question is, hope for what? It is important that we get clear indication what we are hopeful of. And we must be able, like you rightly said, we must be able to say, yes, we said we're going to do this, and we've done it. I think that in so many aspects, the president enumerated things that had been done. Mm-hmm. And so if the president, we assess him and clearly we are sure that what he says he's done, he has really done it, then the promises for me is something to hold him by, and it's a good thing. I wouldn't criticize the president by giving me a promise. I say that people rise to the standards we set for them. So if he sets his own standards, we'll demand accountability for the standards he has set for himself.
Okay, another part of his speech that has, generated quite some controversy, which is even not the first time. We've seen the president speak in a manner to exonerate, his ministers who have been cited or who have had accusations of corruption leveled against them. Now, every now and then, we would see that the president will either call out this person at a public place and say, you know what, there's this probe going on about my so-and-so minister, but I stand by him. I know he's done the right thing. But before I come and take your view on that, we saw the president, for example, in the State of the Nation address, say that the finance minister is proving to be a national asset. Now, there was another acknowledgement, not for a minister or a government agency, but for pressure group Occupy Ghana. Now, he commended their role in creating awareness on the work of the Auditor General. I have a leading member of Occupy Ghana, Ace Ankoma, on phone. Good morning, sir. Thanks for your time.
Good morning. Thanks for calling.
Great. So how did you feel when you heard the president recognize your pressure group at such a function?
Well, it was flattering, but it just means that we have more work to do. We have not rested. We don't intend to rest. It was flattering because we've had a lot to say about his government that has not been nice or pleasant. So for him to see through that and still see the results of one of the things that we've been doing was flattering. But that's where it ends.
So we've had a lot of reactions to his address. For example, the minority think, show us a true reflection of where we are. For example, they feel he should have spoken about the hike in fuel prices, because just the day before his address, COPEC and some other organizations had taken to the streets to demand that the special levy tax be dropped and all that. But he didn't mention that. For them, it's a state of promises, not a true reflection of where we are. Do you agree, sir?
Well, the president said a lot, and I guess there's a lot that he doesn't or could not say. On the issue of taxes, he said that some taxes have come down. I'm not sure he went into detail to list all the taxes that have come down, but it's pretty obvious for everybody to find that some taxes have come down. Have they had the desired effect? We don't know yet. It's probably early days. The issue about petroleum prices is it's a combination of factors. We've been looking at it. There's the international price, then the price build up in Ghana, the costs which are passed on to the consumer, and the tax build up. Now, maybe it is time, or not maybe, it's time to take a look again at the taxes. Are there some taxes that rise or fall on the basis of the rise and fall on the international market? Is there any windfall that we are getting as a country from the rise of oil prices in the international market that can go to cushion the local prices of fuel? So definitely we must have a conversation on it, whether the president spoke about it or not. These are questions we need to be asking and demanded answers from the government.
Let's come back to the reason for your commendation, the work with the Auditor General. We've seen a lot quite recently, especially with the 2016 Auditor General's report. But so far, are you satisfied with the work you're seeing?
From the Auditor General, yes. So we've literally come from a hole. And I don't know if people remember when we started this fight, and there was almost near unanimity that this fight was bound to fail, and various people could come up with various reasons why it was going to fail. We were wrong, we didn't know what we were about, even if we won, nothing will happen out of it. But history and fate kind of conspired to get us where we are at now. We went to court after a year and a half to 2 years of battling it out and hoping that the Auditor General would do the right thing. We went to court. Then in December of 2016, a gentleman who many people hadn't heard about was appointed Auditor General. And I know that many people complain about his being appointed, Mr. Daniel Tomadovo. But he came in, and one of the first things he did was to call us to a meeting and ask, why are we fighting? Because I want to do what you say we should do. But by then it was too late. He had to go to court. The court gave a judgment. The court acknowledged what he had done within 6 months of his being in office. And he's taking that judgment that we got, which is essentially against, and is running with it. And this is some of the results of what we are seeing. He's raised surcharges in excess of to almost 9 million people, and people are paying. These are government money that we would never have recovered, if we had waited for the PAC at Parliament. But we are recovering that because the Supreme Court heard our case and empowered the Auditor General to do what he's doing. I think that it is, and so it is gratifying to see that the force. I mean, we went to court against the government. So if the government.
Hello, Mr. Ankoma.
There's a lot more work to be done, and we don't think that everything we do will make government happy, but frankly, we don't care. We just do what we have.
Finally, the Auditor General has been praised, but one person who is condemned, for example, the recent, not publication, but the recent availability of the 2016 Auditor General's report, even when it has not been laid in Parliament, is former Speaker Edward Doa Jaho. He believes that this is wrong and we shouldn't be encouraging that. Your brief reactions to that, sir?
Well, I think he's also wrong. The Auditor General is not just a financial report on account. He lays it before Parliament, but his report has effect. For example, he's entitled to disallow and surcharge before the report is laid before Parliament. And let's stop this rigmarole. The report has been laid before Parliament all of these years, and nothing has happened. Absolutely nothing. But in exercising his power of disallowance and surcharge, he is able to cause there to be change. So I disagree with him legally. There's a distinction between the Auditor General's report that goes to Parliament and his job as Auditor General, who doesn't stop at just auditing and presenting a newspaper report. It is he audits and then he disallows wrongful transactions and surcharges people, so that by the time he gets to Parliament, he's not just saying that A took money or B didn't account for this. You say A took money, I have surcharged him. B did this, I have surcharged him. If they disagree, they should go to court. If they don't pay within 60 days, the Attorney General will take steps to recover the money from them. That is action. Let's stop trying to build technicalities and procedural points we don't really work. Let's remember, there's a distinction between his job, which includes just reporting to Parliament, and we have seen that Parliament is ineffective and inefficient at it, and as against his power to put what he's written down into effect, and that is what we are seeing today. This is refreshing. This is refreshing. Let's not allow anybody to thumb down on this. This is extremely refreshing. It is revolutionary, and it's moving this nation forward.
Thank you very much for your time. Lawyer Ace Ankoma is a leading member of Occupy Ghana, and the President commended them yesterday while delivering his State of the Nation address for their work in creating awareness on the Auditor General and all that he does. So back in studio, Mr. Boedi, I was just going to ask about your thoughts on the manner in which the President, almost at every public function he has to speak, or when he's asked a question on corruption, will come out to defend his ministers or stand by them, sometimes even when the probe is ongoing, like in the case of the cash for seat. And a lot of people think that this may put some pressure on investigative bodies because he's President, and sadly there may be a certain level of influence on how they do their work or the kind of reports they may have to come up with. Are we in terms of this particular, if I may call it, behavior of the President, is he on the right track?
I think that, you see, people are not, we are just being very, I think we're not looking at things, beyond the literal words and stuff that the president says. You see, as a leader here again, and my boss, Mrs. Kwaf, does this every day. You can do it. I know you will do it. I trust you. Go and do it. You understand? When she tells you that, you are prepared to stay 24/7 and make sure the work is done. So if the president tells you, I trust my ministers, you see, I said earlier on that people rise to the standards you set for them. When the president tells his ministers, when the president says, I trust my ministers, he shifts a certain responsibility on them that you need to prove that trust. Now, imagine if the president had come to Ghanaians and said, I have appointed 110, in quote, thieves. How would Ghanaians feel? He needs to demonstrate that indeed he trusts them, and he needs to inspire confidence in his ministers. So that is a different ball game. Now, as to its effect on law enforcement agencies, you see, we have done yes, Samasa, power from above, for too long. I believe that and here again, let's go to the Auditor General. When the Auditor General was appointed, let's not forget, he was appointed in 2016 by the then government. Now, which era is he auditing now? And this report is coming from which era? Somebody would have said that, yeah, somebody should have said that, oh, well, since this man was appointed by the previous government, he won't touch the previous government. But he's acting as a professional. And that is what is expected. For every professional, that is your calling. So it doesn't matter when the president says this person is right or wrong. It is for you to prove that the president was wrong. So long as he's concerned and the information available to him suggests to him that his ministers are right or upright. Now, if in future we find something wrong, somebody does something untoward, we have to deal with it. And it doesn't matter whether the president said they were honest people or not.
But would you rather he stay silent on matters that, for example, are still quite controversial and may be in court or may be before a committee?
You see, I think that what I am not too comfortable with is when the president passes judgment. So, for instance, the issue of the seat for cash or the cash for seat thing, I would have been comfortable if the president had said that, yes, I have seen the documentation. I am recommending that the appropriate authority investigate or look into it and then pronounce on it. Then the president had not taken sides. That would have been nice. But it doesn't stop the president from saying that, well, I still think that, for what I have seen, I'm not too sure there is anything wrong. But then I still, for the avoidance of doubt, I want somebody to look into it. Because we think that, you see, the Ghana Integrity Initiative has said that it is not to look for guilt that we call for investigation, or it's not to, but sometimes we need to test the integrity of our legislative framework. We need to test the integrity of our systems so that if there are gaps, we can enhance it, we can improve it. If there are no gaps and there are and people act properly, we need to reward them, we need to applaud them. But we can only come to that position when we have an independent inquiry or investigations into acts that people go. So it is not all wrong, or it's not all. It is nothing wrong if events or activities are investigated. We audit companies every day. Why do we do that? We do that to test the integrity of the system we've put in place.
Talking about integrity, let me just finally and briefly, the minority were at it again, this time registering their protest in a different way by repeating that line in the anthem, help us to resist oppressors' rule. Now, many reactions speaking from our Facebook and social media pages is that people are getting tired of the minority. Do you think that the attitude put up by the minority has a potential to make people take them quite unserious?
Well, that for me is up to them. I'm not able to determine the political fortunes of any political party, whether it will enhance their fortune or not. For me, I don't think. For me, I think that this nation state Ghana is critical and is important. And whatever any individual or party or group of persons will do, our ultimate aim is to enhance the quality of accountability, transparency, and also the development of this country.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Mr. Boidi is Corporate Affairs Manager of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, and we'll be talking about the President's State of the Nation address.